sunny day, it's sunny day.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the DDS, back to the Dead Dad Society. I'm Mitch Garling. I am your host of the society. Look, I'm loving the love. People are really liking those last couple of episodes. It feels good. Last episode with Big Red Cap was a deep one. It was a deep one, but it was a great one. So thanks for the love on that one. We got deep with Reg, and that was cool. That's a weird sentence. But yeah, that was a cool episode. So thanks very much, guys. I'm going to be that guy. If you like what we're doing here at the DDS, just like, subscribe, give me some subscriptions. That's the word. Give me some love, and so really appreciate you guys. That's really, really cool. Look, I'm here by myself. No one showed up to the Dead Dad Society this week, and that's okay. You know, not everyone has pain. Not everyone has stuff they want to talk through. And that's not all that the Dead Dad Society is all about. It's also about helping people link up with each other and being connections that we can, or giving connections that we can offer. Now, I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying that I didn't want the Dead Dad Society to literally be pigeonholed to come on that you have to have a dead dad or a dead mum or whatever. I also thought I'd throw it out there that people I want to get on are people that I could see as being my potential father, my potential replacement dad, right? So in that vein, our guest today is a very good friend of mine. Is Andrew Barnett. People may know him as Barney from Fox Sports, the Professor and Barney. So he's on the Matty John show. He has his own podcast with the Professor, James Rochford. And yeah, he's a fantastic stand-up comedian. He's also one of my oldest friends in comedy. And he's a good guest. We had a great chat about an array of different things. Some chats that I didn't know where we were going, but we did it. And so this is episode 9. Please keep the love coming in. I love when you guys reach out to me. That's really cool. And yeah, if you want to shoot me an email or whatever, just send it to deaddadsociety@gmail.com. And yeah, if you have anyone that you want me to chat to that might have a dead dad, do you have a dead dad? Like, let's just chat. That'll be cool. But thanks very much, guys. I love you all very much. And this is episode 9 with Andrew Barney Barnett. Barney, how you doing, mates?
I'm doing well, mate. I'm doing well. I'm excited to be on the podcast. I just got to work out how to make this full. Here we go, full screen. Look at you.
How good's that?
Full HD.
You are copping just a full. I was going to say facial. No, I regret saying that. You're copping just a full shot of me.
A full gander. I couldn't see the nice brass kettle over your over your shoulder.
Mate, I always I set dress depending on who is coming on. And tonight I've gone with this painting. I felt like it represented you somehow. I'm not sure how. And this is quality content for people that are listening on the audio version. But
what are those flowers? Are they roses over your shoulder too, mate, or what are they?
They are, and they're fake. So
really?
I'm really sorry to let you down like
That's
that.
Right.
I didn't mean to.
Bit of your showbiz magic.
That's it. We're actually coming from the family home, coming from my wife's family home. So I'm not even at home. So I don't even know whose this stuff is, to be honest.
Nice.
But mate, thanks for coming on the podcast. Thanks for coming on the Dead Dad Society.
Yeah, not a drama at all. Full disclosure, my dad's alive, but if this is the way I find out, mate, that is one hell of a publicity stunt for you. This is what I've spoken about with other guests. Is like, am I pigeonholing myself that I have to have guests with dead dads? Or certainly you're aiming for an older demographic of guest.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Guys in their 60s are far more likely to be able to join the society than guys who are younger.
At this point, look, I'm happy to just have people
just coming at all. So that's a nice thing. But no, look, if this was the way that, you know, your family, your brother, or I think it's your sister, your mother, they said, look, we need to tell Andrew about Dad passing, but how do we do it? Keep it light. So here we are. Sorry, but no, not really.
I've heard a comedian mate of his has a podcast. Let's give him a call and see what we can do.
Oh, he gets over a couple of hundred views, couple of hundred listens every episode, and I feel like this is what Andrew would want. Is this to go out to just a few people, really? But no, I wanted to sort of say that what I'm don't want to pigeonhole myself that you have to have a dead dad to come on the society. I like to talk to people that I find interesting and that I have a history with, but also I'm kind of teeing up people that I think in an ideal world could step into my dad's shoes and be a replacement dad for me. I spoke to Bo Ryan. I asked him some questions about being my dad, and he seemed kind of keen. He does have a pretty young family himself, but would you like? Is that something you're interested in, or?
Oh, look, I'm always willing to help, but help people out. I do also have. I've got 2 kids, 2 young ones. I've got a.
Yep.
I mean, depends. Let's test this. I've got a 10-year-old. Well, to be 10-year-old next week. His birthday, obviously, big deal in our house. And
absolutely.
What sort of, as a brother, what sort of gift are you looking at arranging? Now, keeping in mind that I end up buying the gift anyway. So
absolutely. And
don't go too extravagant, is what I'm saying. Because let's face it, I'm not made of money. See, good dad saying that one.
That's good. That's a good one. Like I'm a pretty new dad myself, so that's good to learn all the lingo.
Jesus, I didn't even think of that. Am I ready to be a grandfather?
I didn't even think of that. Sorry,
There's a lot
Pops.
to consider here, Mitch.
I didn't even. How old are you these days? Are you 38?
Just turned 39.
39.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty nice of me. That's pretty cool. See, I'm 32. See, as I feel like a 7-year difference between us.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe on the Central Coast or out west or something,
exactly.
But not just a couple of respectable gents like ourselves. But okay,
it's a close age. It's even in the dodgier suburbs, that is pushing it.
The present. Okay, so we've got to keep. Like, I've got to keep your budget in mind. I don't want to go, too crazy. What kind of stuff have we previously got him? Like, are we talking Ben 10? Are we talking like Yu-Gi-Oh? I don't even know what is a thing anymore.
This is the thing. You got to be up with the latest. What is he into at the moment? Ninja Warrior is all the rage in my house. That's been the last few weeks. They love that. The Lego is always massive. Loves anything Lego. What else are they into? Marvel. Loves it. Loves all the Marvel stuff. So maybe I could.
Like, I'm thinking. Obviously, there's some obvious stuff there. Like maybe like an Iron Man mask. Like that's a bit done. Captain America shield. That's probably a bit done. Maybe something like left field. Like I'll get him like a. I don't know. It might be in bad taste. Who knows? But I'll get him like a Black Panther outfit or something. Would that be
nice? I mean, yeah. I don't know if in this day and age he's allowed to wear that, but that is cool. He likes. He's a big. This one's the one that's into the villains. The younger bloke. He's into loves his villains. Sonic the Hedgehog obsessed at the moment too. There we go. Little Sonic the Hedgehog Lego figure, mate.
Were they fans of the movie? Were you a fan of the movie? Did you see the movie?
I saw the. Did I see the movie? Yeah, I've seen the movie a couple of times with him, and he's a massive fan of that movie. Thinks it's hilarious.
Jim Carrey did a pretty good job of Dr. Robotnik, I think.
Yes. Yeah,
Like-
yeah. That's the perfect Jim Carrey villain, though. Like, he's out there enough, and it's the over the top gestures, all that sort of stuff. It's great. He's a good
Yeah.
cartoon villain, Jim Carrey.
That's it. And I feel, like because there's like a little bit of an age gap between me and my wife, Lou. Like, we've just started going back and like when the cinemas reopened, they were showing all the old Batmans, like the Burton Shoemaker ones, like the cinema near our house.
They're not the old Batmans, by the way. The old
No, I
Batmans
know. They are, well, I mean, that's
the
classic.
Adam Wests.
Oh, sorry, Dad. Okay.
Yeah, right. Back in my day. So.
This is where we're going to clash, like the differences between. Actually, there's only 7 years between you and I, and me and my wife.
I remember those. They for me, they're the old Batmans as well. Because I remember when they came around, and then Saturday afternoon, occasionally there'd be the Batman series on TV, and that'd be my old man to be going. See,
that's what it was.
I
Bam,
remember the
pow.
episode. Yeah, the episode where he had he was, for some reason, he was climbing into a helicopter out of the ocean. Can't remember why he was in the ocean, but like a great white shark is coming out and trying to grab onto his leg, and he goes to his belt and had a spray can of shark repellent. Just,
I feel like that's like
happened to have it.
Oh, I feel like that was every like 60s, 70s, 80s show was like, all right, we're at a bit of a crossroads here. We've written the characters into a problem, and it's like, but how do we get out of it? And it's like, let's just cheat it. Like, you know, who's going to say, like, Bruce Wayne's rich? You know, he could have some shark repellent. That's definitely a thing that exists.
I love to think too. There was a guy in the props department gloating like nothing else. Like, yeah, you said I was an idiot for making shark repellent as a prop. Look at it now.
I told you I'd get it in. Yeah, absolutely. I told you I'd get it in. Come on, guys. But yeah. So like we've been watching, like going back and watching the Burton ones, and before the screening of the 1989 one, they showed a trailer for Batman Forever, which was a bit, you know, out like not logic, like timeline wise. It's like, that's interesting. But, and just Jim Carrey in the as the Riddler, like, is just mental.
Yes.
Like, I feel like that was something that, like, that movie was pretty panned, like pretty hated, but that was just still such a good performance. Like, that was just creepy and yeah, like pretty spot on, I thought.
Well, there was a period where those movies are nowhere near as good as the Nolan ones, in my opinion, anyway.
No.
But they, like, at the time, way bigger names, like
massive names.
You think like now, like you know, the guys that were in that Batman films probably are, they're, you know, Hollywood A-listers now. But the guys, like when you had Arnold Schwarzenegger, you had Jim Carrey, you had Jack Nicholson, all A-listers,
absolutely,
going into doing the series.
Yeah,
like that was incredible.
We've got, I think the thing that always like stood out for me is that a lot of the billing, those guys were listed before the person playing Batman.
Yeah, well,
does that make sense?
Because Clooney played Batman, but Clooney, to that point, I don't know, had he done many movies? He was still like an ER doctor, wasn't he?
I think so. Like, I think it was probably during that main transition, like maybe not long before Ocean's 11, like really smashed him in there, like solidified him in there.
See, I'm disappointed because I thought the breakout star from ER would have been Noah Wyle.
Look, he's a big boy. He's a big he's a lanky guy, but he's a big guy. I always liked Anthony Edwards.
He's another good one
from Revenge of the Nerds.
Clooney was the one that got it in the end.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. Is ER still going? Is that still?
I don't think so. I think that's ER's done. But
it's done.
I'd love to have seen an Anthony Edwards as Batman. I like to think, you know, because you hear about, like, you're familiar with the theory of parallel universes. Every time there's a decision,
absolutely,
branch made. I like to think that there is a universe where they did go with Ian Edwards.
Yeah. With him as the Cape Crusader.
As the Cape Crusader. That'd be awesome. Who was it that played Robin in those?
Chris O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell, that's right.
Yeah,
From,
that's a
Party of Five.
90s 2000s name that you.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel like he's possibly in like a TV show. I think I saw him in something the other day, but
really
nothing. Oh, is it? Oh, actually, I think he's NCIS like Hawaii or something. Like it's like him and
gig.
Someone. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just in Hawaii all the time, just loving life, getting lovely paychecks. Sounds delightful.
Yeah. That is a good gig.
That was like the people that used to complain about like when they had to go and do Lost, and they're like, yeah, we had to go out there for 3 months, and and like, yeah, there's probably some grueling early morning get-ups and some grueling times, but Saturday, Sunday, you're in Hawaii, like just go and have a good time. Like how sad can it be?
Good time.
Absolutely. Did you ever see because I think Burton was already teed up to do Batman Forever. Is that right? Yeah, Burton was teed up to do Batman Forever, and it already sort of started putting stuff together. And there's like concept art of like concept photos of one of the Wayans brothers as Robin, like literally in the costume, like full on. Like Tim Burton had already agreed. Like
that would have been cool.
Keaton's coming back. Wayans, like one of the Wayans brothers playing Robin. And
he was a good Batman too, Keaton.
Keaton's the, like, apart from Bale, I think Keaton's the man.
Did Keaton do, I don't remember, I haven't seen them recently. Did Keaton do the crazy voice like Bale did? Because Bale's voice, when I first saw him as Batman, I was like, that's a bit over the top, the silly, I'm Batman.
I think if I hadn't seen the Bale once, I would probably think Keaton's voice was a bit over the top. But because I've got Bale in the back of my head, I go like, oh, he's a bit toned down. Like he's not as crazy as Bale. But whereas Bale's was almost like not bipolar, schizophrenic. Like it was a completely different. Like you put the mask on and it's just like raw, like this full on raw, as opposed to like I'm trying to intimidate you, which is kind of how I felt Keaton was.
I love those. Which one was it? Which of the Bale ones was it? It was Dark Knight Rises, where it's here and he's going up against Bane, who also
over the top,
great voice over the bat, so good. Love
just this
that.
back and forth of like probably just what's the word I'm looking for? Like an ADR technician who's just fucking hating life, having to redub it later, being like, blah, blah, blah.
At least with Bane, you couldn't see the mouth, so he could have done everything.
That's true. That's it. It's like all the Deadpool stuff. It's like 100%, like half the, all that stuff's just been put in after, like with Ryan Reynolds, just literally waxing lyrical, like just with some dumb shit, because you can't see the face anyway. But
yeah, that's good acting.
But yeah, that's the parallel universe that we could have. That's the parallel universe we could have lived in, was the Marlon Wayans one.
God, that would have been good. I would have loved.
Be interesting. It'd be crazy. How is the pandemic, quarantine life treating Andrew Barnett?
Good. Well, not great. I'm trying to be positive because it's like, I don't know. It's just been a shitty year for everyone. But, as far as things go, like we're doing all right. What we have when we first got locked down, we were basically sent home from work. So I was working from home, trying to stay productive, doing a bunch of stuff for Fox from home. But that sort of kept us busy for a lot of that with the kids. They were homeschooling, so it was a good time. I am not a teacher.
How was that interesting? Catching up on your Australian prime ministers and all that sort of stuff that 10-year-olds learn about.
Yeah, it was It was interesting. The school did pretty well. Like their day was pretty well structured, but I mean, they just it's just if I found 3 questions deep, I'm getting caught out by these kids regularly.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how dumb I was, and I think they're starting to realize it too. It's that age now where they're like, "Oh, dad's an idiot."
Yeah, I kind of had that. I kind of had that complex a while ago when it's like, as you're growing up, you're like, mum, dad, they're the go-to, they're the be-all, like advice, anything you go to them. And then, recently my mum gave me some advice and I was just like, what? Like, that's insane advice. And then I was like, oh, I was taking that advice my whole life. Like, what am I? Like, I'm like, I'm just going to shatter the glass.
Like anyone, they're just doing their best. You just hope that the kids don't realize. But like my kids are getting to that age now where they're starting to, I'm seeing that window close from where dad's cool to, all right, dad, whatever. And,
yeah.
It's coming up way too fast.
Does dad get cool points for being on the telly though?
Yeah, a bit. I think, I don't know. It seems to be a bit of a novelty to them. Like it's the novelty of actually seeing me on the TV's worn off. They don't.
Yeah.
Like it used to be. I'd get home on a Sunday night after doing Matty John's, and they'd be there and they would have watched or whatever. Now I get home and they're all sitting watching Ninja Warrior. And,
I didn't even know. Oh, was that where you were, Dad? Like we didn't even know. We thought you went to the shops.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a bit nonplussed. But they, I think a couple of the kids at their school have seen the stuff and joined the dots, and so they think that's kind of cool. But
yeah,
it's
probably a bit like once they get a little bit older, like once it's like 13, 14, 15, that sort of age when. If they're big into the footy as well, like that kind of age, I think it'll be really like, fingers crossed that the world is still the world and you're still working there. But you
got to remember though, like for in their world, like kids, it's so much just in the immediate now. So in their world, like,
it's TikTok.
They might look at, well, no, they're keeping off that shit. But they're like. For them, like they might see me on TV for 5 minutes in the week, but that's 5 minutes out of a whole week. The rest of the time, I'm the guy telling them to get ready, hurry up, stop mucking around, all the other stuff. So I don't know. They probably see that as a weird thing.
Yeah, it'll probably be more like you said, the friends and stuff. Like so, it's like, oh, I saw your dad on this. It's like. I think Bert Kreischer was saying like his daughters couldn't give a shit who he is, but all the people at his daughter's school were like, oh my God, like your dad's the machine. Like, that's so cool and all that sort of stuff. Whereas hopefully you can get some of that love too from, well, not love.
Yeah. I remember I was picking the kids up this last year. I was picking the kids up from school and one of the kids, so, one of the probably about year 3 kids comes up to me and goes, I watch you on the telly. And I just looked at the kid and went like, oh, I don't need to know that. Like, no, I don't need to think there's a bloody 8-year-old out there listening to what I'm saying. Because you can't, it's hard to write imagining that, oh God, now parents are going to have to explain what I just said to their kids.
Absolutely. It's literally, it's the equivalent of, when you do like a gig and then it's like, oh, by the way, someone brought their kid and you're like, oh, great. So now I've got to alter what I was going to do. And like, you don't have to you probably should, but like at least tone it down a little bit if there was something hectic. But
the thing with that is like, and I've had plenty of crowds where it's like, and then the parents like, no, it's cool. It's all right with me. Say whatever. They're fine. We got that. And it's fine that they're raising their kid that way. If that's how you want to raise your kid and you want to expose them to all these great ideas and crazy comedy stuff, that's all fine. The problem they don't think about is they're cool with it. But the people sitting around who see a kid in the audience, the other audience members, it's in their mind. So you're sort of making it. It puts a tension in the room that you've got to deal with at some point.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise, if you don't change, if you don't moderate for the fact that there is a child there, whether or not the parent cares, so a lot of the other audience, whether they're conscious of it or not, do care or do moderate themselves. So
yeah, like I had one of the first gigs back was like a double header up in Newcastle, and the first night, literally like halfway through my set, there was like a cry of like a baby, and I was just like, is there a baby? Like, is there a baby here? And then this lady was like, sorry, yeah, like, first chance to get out after the quarantine, first chance to get out after the pandemic. I just wanted to come. And I was like, that's cool. But like, was there no one that could look after him or her? Like, where did we get to? Like, how have we gotten to this point where there's literally a bassinet thing, like, what's it, like a little cradle-y, and she's literally sitting there laughing, like rocking this kid. And you're like, if you have to sit there and rock this kid, like, that's a fundamental problem to me. Like, do you know what I mean?
That's I don't know. That's not what I would have done, but far out. If that helps us stay sane, who cares? Like,
oh, absolutely. And that's what she snuck out. She snuck out like halfway through the headliner, like, because the baby was like sort of getting a bit antsy. And it's like, that's cool. She's not
a fan of the headliner's material, eh?
Yeah, no. I mean, Sarah Gall. Do you know Sarah?
Don't know.
No, she's real good. She's real good. But yeah, it's just the idea of like, I'm totally like, oh man, I get that.
You ask a 6-month-old, she's not great, evidently.
I mean, she doesn't even understand. Like, I don't even get her references. That's what the 6-month-old
not in the key demographics of 6-month-olds.
At all. How many shows are you doing these days for Fox?
So at the moment at Fox, we're basically we're doing a bit of work for the AFL channel. We pre the start of the season, we taped a bunch of interviews with some AFL players.
Yeah.
Because the idea was we were supposed to be doing an AFL version of our show as well.
Right.
And which sort of COVID killed. And then our regular winter show's on hold. Basically,
the Big Bash? The Big Bash one's
no, the winter. Yeah, it's in summer. So we do over winter now. From now, we're basically in all sports. So we're supposed to do we do a version for the rugby league and a version for the AFL channel, and just lots of league in the league, lots of AFL in the AFL, and then both of them have some of the broader sporting world. Just I don't know about you. Like, a lot of people think it's really tribal, but I don't know about you, but I find that people who like sports tend to like sports. So I don't. Yeah. Our thing is you shouldn't have to choose between AFL or league or whatever. So
not
get into whatever you're into. So but that's all on hold because of COVID for now. So we're back on the Matty John show on a Sunday night. Do that. We've been just making these short little interview segments for the AFL channel, Fox Footy, which I don't know what we're going to do going forward because we're about to run out of pre-taped interviews.
Good.
But
Good.
Yeah, it's
sneak down. You have to hop on a freight train and sneak into Victoria and try and get some. No, they're all up in Queensland, aren't they?
Yeah, the players are all in. They've been in WA, they've been in Queensland, so the AFL. It's just a crazy season. It's good at the moment though, the AFL, because they've been playing. I think it was 33 games in 20 days, so it's just every day there's football. So
that's good. Well, it's kind of like the A League as well. The A League kind of had, I think it was 39 in. It was all 33 and 39 or something like that, and it's like a Monday night, and you're like, oh, there's some A League on. That's cool. All right,
that's great.
Good.
And that's the thing. If for the people, especially for people in Melbourne, locked down, not able to get out, at least if there's footy on every night, there's
there's
some
something
feeling
that they can fully properly love and relate to.
Some feeling of normality, because I don't know, if you're locked down 23 hours a day, I suppose you're your Netflix, you're going to see if you can finish it.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, can you? Is that a thing? Do you just get to the end and it's just that same logo again?
Congratulations, you've finished Netflix.
And just onto Stan. Like you just move over
exactly.
Straight away.
Yeah, so they're getting live sports. So we're doing stuff for them, and then we do our podcast, the Professor and Barney Podcast, which goes up on Thursday. We generally record that on Wednesday, and that goes up first thing Thursday morning, the audio version. But the the video version, goes up on Kayo Sports.
I noticed that. That's pretty cool.
Night. Yeah. So it's been good. We started doing that for them when we were all at home. So doing a lot of this Zoom
chats,
and just trying to work out a way to stay productive. So that's we're keeping busy. And it looks like at this stage the plans for the cricket show to be back over summer. But obviously what the season looks like is still up in the air for everything.
That's it.
So, but hearing positive things at the moment.
So whether or not they go into like an NBA style bubble, and everyone's
I don't know how they're going to manage it, but they've got a million plans going on, and hopefully because India are coming out for the Test series, and that's all going to go ahead. So that'll be a great year. There's nothing better than Test cricket, India, or
anyone,
India
just
or
that
England, or
just that whole a vibe over that sort of Christmas or Boxing Day onwards. Just that vibe. It's like, where are we at? Like, what day in the Test are we? When's the next one? How many more we got? Like that sort of. It's just I don't know. It's just perfect summer. Like that's all we need.
Exactly. So I'm glad that's all still going ahead, because it just, I don't know if it'd feel like summer without all that. I love it.
Yeah, and I even like, because the what's the name's gone, isn't it? The old intro, like, because it's not on the same channel anymore. Is it on channel 7 now?
It's on Channel 7 and Fox Cricket. Watch it at Fox Cricket or on Kayo Sports.
That's
what I'd suggest, Mitch.
Since
they pay my bills.
He is always on. He can't help
That's
himself.
It, mate. Always promote. Got to get the brand out there.
Absolutely. Do you ever contemplate, just, can you like bring up like the theme song with the people at Fox Sports? Like, can we talk them into it? Like, can we get it going, do you think? Or do you think they want to distance themselves from it?
No, they've got it. I don't think the theme and the theming's too far at Fox Cricket from that traditional sort of a feel.
Yeah.
Especially early on, all the old, like, it was all, that great sweeping music, and really builds you to the thing. It's not the exact same Wide World of Sports one, but it's you don't feel like you're watching a completely different show.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I guess that's going to be
familiar enough
for the next gen. Like, if anything happens in 20 years' time, whatever the music is now, like, that's going to be their Wide World of Sports. So I guess we can't deprive them, if that's.
See, well, you got the Fox Cricket, and then to be honest, I don't know off the top of my head what Seven's sort of opener music's like, but I mean, I saw a bit of their coverage. It was good. So
good stuff.
I mean,
can't say too much. Can't say too much. It's very good. I watched it and I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I didn't. To be honest, I didn't see a lot of the Channel 7 coverage, just because. I mean,
you're probably working a fair bit.
Yeah.
So
working a fair bit. So most of what I saw was in our office.
Your feed anyway. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How does what was I going how did because obviously I know you through stand up, like we've known each other for quite a while, and I've always known you as Barno. What did you? How did the Barney? Was that just someone said like, "Hey Barney," and it just kind of stuck, or?
That's outside of stand-up. That is what everyone's called me pretty much my whole life. Like Barney was always playing sport or whatever. That was the nickname, Barney.
Really?
And then I forget who it was that started calling me Barno.
Probably Matty B.
Yeah, it could have been Maddie or it was probably around that early, when I first met him. There was a few
Barnos.
sort of Barno. And it's just, that was just sort of what different people in stand-up called me. But, Barney was always, growing up and that sort of stuff.
So did it come down, did you get to pick that? Like, did they say, what do you want your name to be? Or is it because they would always just call you Barney randomly, or?
No, it was a bit of both. Like they did say to me, what do you want to be called on the air? And for me, it was just easier than have, like, for whatever people are comfortable calling you with. Is to have it. And it's a pretty easy to remember sort of nickname or whatever.
It's true. So. It's very true. I always get, it's funny just because the Barno Barney, fight is always in my head. If that makes sense, to the point where, like,
I'll answer to either, Mitch. I'll answer to either. So
you will? Okay.
Don't stress it too much.
Yeah, I mean, I like to know what my dad likes to be called. That's just what I want to know. But even like, because I get obviously like a little bit of backstory. Like, you emceed our wedding.
Yes.
So still
good wedding, by the way.
Thank you. We'll talk about that later. There's lots to digest. No pun intended, lots to digest, good stuff to digest.
Good tease.
Thank you. I still get people these days that are big footy fans, like even Lou's friends, my friends, that are like, I can't believe Barney emceed your wedding. Like Barney from the Matty John show. And I'm like, one, it's Barno. Like, I'm getting like real, I'm like, it's Barno. Like, but like, they love it.
And I knew him long before he was from the Matty John show or from anywhere like that. So
I know. I feel so, like, even just today I was putting up a socials post just saying that I was recording with you tonight, and like, I've known you for so long, like we go way back, and I just felt so like my automatic brain was to be like, from the Matty John show, but then I was like, no, it's from friendship. Like, that's where it's that's why, like, it's so,
I don't know.
It's a weird thing to try and, because you want people to obviously listen to the episode, and you want people to be like, oh, that's Barney from the Matty John show. But then also, I don't want it to be like, I'm selling out, making sure everyone knows.
Mate, I wouldn't care either way. It's still funny, like at gigs, every now and then people go, how do you want to be brought up? Which is, always nice. And, as MC, you always sort of say, is there anything you want to mention? I really don't ever, I never say, can you mention this? Can you mention that? Because one, I don't think audiences care as much as we think they do.
No.
The amount of times people go, yeah, you've seen this guy from the telly on the Matty John show, and you walk out and it's just blank face. People don't know.
No.
It's like, at any given point, like, you can be on the biggest, especially now, you'd be on a massive TV show, that most of the population have no clue who you are or no idea.
Unless it was, this is Barney from Love Island, or this is Barney from Bachelor in Paradise. But
would you recognise a Bachelor in Paradise person? I wouldn't.
No clue.
You'd sort of, there's so much stuff on nowadays. It's not like, I don't know, when we were younger, like, when you're kids and that, there really was a lot of shared cultural touchstones. Like, you get, a certain number of movies came out in a given year, a certain number of TV shows were on. A good chunk of the population watched Home and Away or watched Neighbours.
Absolutely.
And and even if you went to school and you say you weren't allowed to watch Home and Away because your dad thought it was garbage, just hypothetically, you'd learn enough. You learn enough from the conversation that went on at school about, so you got the cultural references. Whereas now, I don't know that that's going to necessarily be the same going forward, because it's just so much more.
Well, that's it. Like, you, after a couple of days at school of hearing, people talking about
Flathead Fisher and all this sort of stuff on Home and Away, you'd start to put it all together and be like, oh, Alf, the Flaming Mongrel, Flathead Fisher, go down the bait shop or down the, whatever it's called, the diner. But no, these days, like Lou and her sisters, like sort of talk about I think Riverdale or whatever it's called, the show, like Riverdale.
Oh yeah.
They kind of like based on the Archie comics, I think it is. But
yeah,
I
very loosely.
Very loosely. Strangely. But I hear them talk about that, and it's like, again, after a while, I can sort of string some stuff together because I'm hearing them talk about it. But when they talk about it, it's like, it's Archie and Jughead Jones and this and that. And I'm like, I've got no fucking clue what you guys do. That's double Dutch to me.
And to be honest, like one of the guys I work with is probably late 20s, and he was into Riverdale, and he had no idea that it was based on Archie comics or even what Archie comics were. Like,
right.
Cultural. The amount of common ground things, like you get the occasional thing, like I think Tiger King or something like that, where it gets the amount of eyes on it that a lot of people talk about it. Like, I don't know if you've watched the whole thing or not. I've watched about an episode and a half. And
right.
But it was one of those ones where you just go, okay, what are they talking about? And you check it out just because it's around. But I just don't see that being as common going
forward. I mean,
there's so much out there.
Absolutely. Like you're an episode and a half in, and you probably can still make the, Carol did it, Joe Exotic, that, like all these fucking references that you can probably still make. Whereas, it would definitely be, I think, I guess there's just so much, even like you're going back to like the Home and Away v Neighbours sort of thing, is like, even now there's just, even Australian stuff, there's just so many things coming out, so many like different shows that it's like, there's just so many to actually pick from, as opposed to like back in the day, it's like you were saying with AFL, NRL, you were Neighbours or you were Home and Away. Like that was, you didn't really, not many people did both, I don't think.
Yeah, then now you've got access to, and the thing is like, you don't have to. You can sort of watch whatever you want whenever you want, so you don't have to sacrifice one for the other if they're up against each other. You just I'll watch that later.
That's it. It's a good life. It's a good life. How do you find writing stand up as opposed to like writing for the show, like for the shows that you do? Because obviously, like a lot of the stuff that you do for the NRL, like there is, there could be, of course, broad references, but most of it's pretty niche sort of content, I would think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you sort of, it's one of the things is you want to be, like what we try to do with our shows, like whether it be cricket or rugby league or even the AFL content, is you want to be detailed enough with jokes that you sort of want to have layers of jokes, in terms of you want to have some jokes that are there for the people that are really into the sport, like know their sport inside and out. But you don't want it to be all that. You want it to be accessible enough that someone coming in can get why the reference is funny, or to give enough information so that you don't have to know everything about a player or the sport.
That's
or
it. And feel excluded. Feel excluded
at
the same time.
Exactly.
And like, I don't get this. Why would I watch it?
Yeah, exactly. So you want to, and you just want, and that's the same with stand-up. You want your comedy to be accessible to the audience to a point where, like, the way I see it is if I'm trying to get information across to get you to laugh, then I need to meet you halfway in some senses. Like, I need to be aware, okay, if this is a really drunk crowd and they're rowdy, that being more verbose and you change the way you approach the delivery based on, okay, these people are too antsy to be able to sit through a long rambling story or something that that's going to take several levels of callback that you might do in a solo show where you've got a more
an attentive
style
audience. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're there for that's what they're bought in for. So, and I'll even sometimes throughout the night, like say you're doing the Comedy Store, you're doing a late show or whatever, and by the end of how I start might be very different to how I end, because
absolutely
I know by the end of it, the attention span's getting less. They're a lot drunker, or they're more thinking, okay, I'll sit through this. Do I have to go to the bathroom? Like, there's many more distractions going on. So you've got to sort of change the way you do things. So, I mean, writing for the big difference between the writing for stand-up and the writing for the shows is, and this is something that the Professor, who's done TV for a long time as a producer and a presenter, keeps. It's a visual medium, so you've got to. So yeah, you tend not to try and show the punchline, rather than just say the punchline if you can, or deliver it in a way that you've got a different set of tools to get your information across, and work out what the best way to deliver that is. Sometimes it's still better to say the punchline but have most of the information delivered visually, and other times it's better to say the setup and deliver the punchline visually. So you sort of just got to, you're just a different way of thinking about it. Whereas stand up, it's sort of, I mean, there's a million different ways to do stand up, but the way I've generally done it, it's much more me talking through a situation and talking. It's much more verbal.
Yeah. I guess that's the like you're mentioning. That's what the Professor, or that's what James sort of suggests. You could kind of see that, like that fully in practice, like with not the NRL news. Like, you've literally got those, the photoshopped graphics or the edited graphics or whatever that really combine with you're telling a story, and there's a punch coming, but the visual is also setting it up at the same time.
Well, it also buys you a lot. Like it's the efficiency of, like, you're talking stand up is you want efficiency of language. You want to give people exactly the right amount of information so that they get the punchline.
Yeah.
So you give them too much, and the timing's not right, and it feels a bit meandering. You give them not enough, and they don't get the joke. And so working out where that line is. Whereas with the TV stuff is sometimes, if you just show, rather than trying to tell, oh, this happened at this game, yada yada, just go, oh, did you see this? Boom, vision's up. You can talk over it, or if it's vision with audio, you just let it roll out. Then you come back, then you can do your punchline, or you can set up. I don't know if you saw this, and you sell it one way, you put your misdirect, and then you've got your doctored vision or whatever you've got there. I mean, it's even changed this year a lot in that. I mean, usually, like in previous years when we were doing stuff, not the NRL news, it's always been with a live audience.
Yeah.
Which is a different style. So you edit for laughter. The way you deliver. So we do short pieces, do a joke, come back to us, laughter. There'd be laughter, there'd be energy in the room, and then you'd move on to the next thing. Whereas at the moment, we're literally got the three blokes on the couch and whoever the guest is for the week.
Yeah.
They're essentially
your reaction
to get that reaction and get that energy out of. So you've got to, like, we tended to do longer tape pieces rather than joke come back. Let's lay it all out in a nice long tape piece and pace it up so that there's not the pressure of joke, pause for laughter. Whereas if you're editing for a large audience, like, that's going to be there, you leave the breathing space for where the laugh is. So before you go on,
that's it.
Information. So,
and even sorry, mate, what were you saying?
No, so like I say, like it's this year's been very different and working out how we work has been very different to previous years. But I mean, it's part of the fun of it. It's like a puzzle that's never quite finished.
That's it. I mean, there's been a lot of obviously a lot of negatives that's come out of this year and COVID and all that sort of stuff. But I guess there's a little positive or a silver lining there, is that you're flexing a new muscle. Like you guys are working a new thing that possibly you wouldn't have done before or wouldn't have had to have done before. So now you get to flex that muscle and see if you can do it.
And even down to, like, for me, like I've, just because there's just less resources for us to do what we're doing, where previously, we could go, this is what we're looking at, say, a different player's career. We get a production assistant or a junior producer to go through, and they go through all the archives and bring us a compiled list of all the stuff that might be interesting.
Right.
Now there's no one there we don't have that necessarily on hand. So it's been good in terms of in some ways it's a pain in the ass, but doing the grunt work yourself is, getting familiar with all the systems. Like I'm a terrible editor, but I'm getting better and I'm learning to cut. And so just becoming more self-sufficient, I suppose, is part of the silver lining. You got to try and get something out of every situation you find yourself in. And this is the thing, is I feel like me in particular, I've skilled up a fair bit. I've learned a lot this year.
That's it. We're not 2020 has stopped you from being the Ellen of Fox Sports, just throwing.
Oh no, I'm still abusing people.
Oh, absolutely.
And, people aren't allowed to look me in the eye. I just have to do my own work.
None of that. No, that's good. That's good, mate. I'm proud. I guess even like when I sort of did a bit of like crowd warm up stuff there, like when it was not the NRL news, like it's very similar to stand up in the performance sense of like that pause, that letting the laughter die down, the pause. I'm going to, you deliver half a line and then you pause on it and let them sort of catch up with you, and then you smashed it out and really hit them with it. So not having that live audience, I guess, I mean, it's just the same as doing Zoom shows, I guess, for stand-up, is that you are just like you, lucky you've got the guys on the couch, but most of the time you guys are just throwing stuff into the void of just hoping something works.
It's been received all right.
That's it.
Yeah,
it's kind of...
And that's the beauty, though, of stand-up, is when you can do it live and you can do it in front of a live audience. It's the most magic thing, because you're getting the feedback of energy off the crowd.
Yeah.
And it's all very instantaneous, and it's part of the fun of doing it.
It's a bittersweet.
I'm actually doing, I think, my second gig since lockdown tomorrow night, which is
where are you heading?
Good question. I should have had that on hand since I.
No, that's all good. I've done that.
It's in
I put you on
Darlinghurst. No, you didn't. I put myself on the spot. Where is it? It's at the
Running Joke. Is it Muggleton's new thing?
No, it's Tom Orr's.
Tom Orr. Yeah.
Material night.
Yep.
Magician's Cabaret. So it's a new material night.
So that's you're going to try some magic then, or cabaret, or
magic cabaret, mate. That's what I'm doing. Just
crack out the
magic song.
Was it Lady Gaga that you did on the show, wasn't it? Crack that out. I
probably won't wear the same outfit. That was
that problematic? Did it get hate or not?
No, that was people tended to love that. I was a very ugly Lady Gaga.
Well, that's it. I mean, you're not. I mean, you're dressing up as a very specific movie character. I don't think there's any sort of hatred in that, obviously. But
and it was an homage to an actual performance that happened. Was what
exactly.
We
were
doing so.
So have you got much COVID? Have you got much COVID material or much new material, or are you just gonna, dust the boots off kind of thing?
I have what's known as new premises. Not sure
Delicious.
how many new punchlines I've got yet, but that's part of the fun of getting back out there. It's interesting because I did a gig, just like I don't even remember where it was. It was just went and just jumped up and did a spot at a room, an open mic a few weeks ago, and it was bizarre in terms of how it felt. Like it was all familiar, but it felt like, when you haven't exercised in a while, that
absolutely
trying to find the rhythm of running and stuff. So yeah, it could be an interesting night tomorrow night. I'll see how it goes.
I kind of found like the first gig back I did felt like the first day back at school after being on Christmas holidays. Does that make sense? Like, in the sense of I've still been talking to people. I've still seen some of these people outside of this world, but now we're all back in the same place, the place we know, the place we go to. And everything was just kind of like, it was like, I hadn't seen some people for a while, and it was like, hey, like, cool. Like, how are you? So, like, how was your time off? Like, what have you been up to, kind of thing? You got new hobbies? Like, what's happening? But it was strange. That first night was a weird one. It was good to just, dust it off and get back up. But that first night was very strange.
I'm glad to be getting back up, because I haven't tried to push myself back into it too much, because I'm very conscious of the fact that I've got to make sure I can turn up to work.
Absolutely.
Which is paying the bills at the moment. So I don't want to have to, you know what I mean, be at the wrong pub and have to quarantine for 14 days or something. So I'm being fairly judicious about how I'm getting about it. But there is still that, when you're flicking through your Instagram feed or whatever, and you're seeing people who are out, and you're just like, did that itchy feet and that feeling of like, damn, they're all getting better and I'm still, I don't know about you, but I feel like when I'm not getting up, it's not that I'm not getting better, it's that I'm getting worse. Like I'm forgetting how to do it. I had a dream last night, this crazy anxiety dream that I was going to this gig to do this open mic spot, and I turned up and it was my solo show that had been organised for me, and I couldn't remember any of my material, and all my set lists, all my set lists were at home, and I couldn't remember what went in this show, and it was this one particular show that I've done that I did a while ago, and it was that way, and then I went out, and my parents were in the audience, and they were fighting, and then my dad walked out, and it was this crazy stress dream.
There's a lot of layers.
And as I'm on stage, I grabbed the microphone and the cord fell out of it, and it was just. And I woke up this morning and went, Jesus, that's just one open mic that I'm going to that's caused that. So
and that's like, there's a lot of layers there, mate. Like it's it's the microphone, the cord's falling out, so there's you've got some sort of performance issue problem. Your parents are fighting. It's like, is there dramas at home that you're subconsciously putting into this dream? Like, there's just so many layers of it all. I don't think
there is. I think it was just what's the worst thing? My brain's just going, what's the worst thing that could happen? So it was, stressful. And just me, that feeling of floundering and nothing coming on stage. It was horrendous.
I had, and this, like, I mean, it's kind of inside baseball or whatever, but it's like, I had a dream where I had set up the joke, like literally set it up, and then couldn't remember how to finish or how to bring it all back. And just kind of was like, set up. And then, well, that's like, and that's it kind of thing. And it's like the
I think I was at that gig, Mitch.
That wasn't a dream. That was a real. That was my solo. That was my festival show, and my parents were fighting. But are you? Do you need to head off soon? Are you busy boy?
No, I literally have been doing some research for a podcast with the podcast we've got to record tomorrow, and I'll probably just head to bed.
So, that's it.
Maybe have a cup of tea, treat myself.
How good's
that? Kettle's put me in the mood.
Living that dad life.
Mate,
so good.
It's pretty wild.
You can take the roses and do an American Beauty for the wife or whatever, if you want to do that. But,
no, I think she's fast asleep. I doubt that'd go over particularly well.
Just to wake up to that music, and that's a great visual. But I'll ask you a couple more things. But going back to stand up, and you've shown me the roots of Barney. Like, you've told me that Barney is who you are, is who you identify as. How does Barney?
Wow. They make it seem like a very.
I didn't even mean to.
I identify as a Barney. Thank you.
As a Barney, as a gigantic purple dinosaur or something. I don't know. But how does Barney, in terms of leaving high school, working, blah blah blah, how does Barney's brain figure out that he wants to do stand up, that he wants to be a comedian? Like, what starts that? What triggers that? I
always loved stand up. Like, I was a kid that, whenever the comedy festival gala was on TV, tape it, and I mean tape it with a VHS tape, because it was the 90s.
Absolutely.
But it was just one of those things I always loved, but never ever considered that I'd ever be able to do. And then I was down in Melbourne one year for during Comedy Festival, and we were staying across the road from the Exford Hotel. For people that know the Comedy Festival, they do the like after party, they call it, or something. Or they did this year, which is basically a show that comics will come down. It's a free show. Comics come down, do their 5 minutes, plug their shows, that sort of thing. Yeah. And went a few times across the course of the week and realised that there were guys that were very funny, but that were doing the same material. And it's the first time I really thought about what the process. And I'm like, of course they don't write new
every night
routine every time they perform. Like, that is ridiculous. And so I was like, and I thought, and just watching the patterns, I was like, I'd like to try it just once. It'd be terrifying, but I want to try it just once. So I made a bet with my cousin that I'd do it, and we set a date because I knew that had forced me to do it. I wouldn't be able to kick it down the line. So then I looked around for open mics in Sydney, and ended up going to the Mic in Hand one night, watching it, really loving it, and then deciding, and then sending an email to them, to Liam Nesbitt at the time, and saying, look, I don't know if you guys take newbies. He's like, yeah, we certainly do. And so I got my first set was the 19th of November 2009 at the Mic in Hand. Jeremy Keast was the MC.
Keasty, how good.
Keasty was the MC, and it was Movember, and I had a massive chopper mo. And
Keasty, did he have one? He would have had one going too, surely.
No, but he came over, and Keasty goes afterwards. He goes, when they said, I think it's that bloke over there, because he's going around finding out who all the acts are. He goes, you look pretty intimidating, and I'm the least intimidating bloke in the world. But I suppose from a distance, if you just glance looking like that, and then and then that went well enough that I thought, well, maybe I could do it again. Yeah. And I just sort of got a bit addicted, and
kept the moustache as like a lucky charm, sort of. If you shave it, you're gonna bomb.
The mo was gone well before the next gig, and this nowadays I rock a beard mostly out of laziness rather than anything else. So Did the
first set go good? Like, did the first gig go well, or was it just sort of middling?
If I had that set now, I wouldn't think it went well, but for a first set and for my expectations at the time, it went really well. I was there with a mate who is the most tactful bloke in the world, and he's a bit older than me, he had another mate who'd tried it about 10 years earlier and worked out his material and done it, and it just bombed. That happens. Like, you can have good material, you just bomb it. It's hard, especially at first. And so he, like, literally before I go on stage, he's pulled me aside. He goes, "Now, Andrew, listen, you're going to go up there. You've got good material and stuff, but you're going to go up there. People probably aren't going to laugh. It's going to feel awkward and terrible, but just be aware that people probably aren't going to laugh." And I was like, thanks for the pep talk, mate. And they laughed a bit, and so it went well for what I thought at the time. But you know, it was the expectations of an open micer. I was just looking to get one giggle.
Yeah,
And,
just that's
got
all.
a few little laughs.
It feels that's I mean that's that's gold at that early stage. You're like, I don't know. Even if someone smiles at me, I'm gonna take that and be like, that's a win. I did it. Like,
yeah,
but
exactly.
like I remember my first time. Like this is a kind of everyone's first or most first times seem to be at this place that I keep hearing is Star Bar, like in the city at whatever it's called, Bonkers or whatever. But I had a bunch of
Back
friends
then it was Comedy Court, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, Comedy Court, yeah.
Comedy Court. I believe I won King of the Court one year.
Did you?
Won their little competition. Mate, everyone. If you went,
everyone's won one.
Everyone ended up winning a grand final. So yeah,
that's it. The judge was always in session at the Comedy Court. But I invited I told a bunch of people, told like 10 friends, just like, I'm going to do this. It's just a bucket list thing. Like I'd hosted some stuff before that, MC'd some stuff. And literally was like, I'm going to do this. And then they were like, okay, so I still lived on the Central Coast then. And they're like, let's all, we'll all get the train down together. And then I told them what train I was getting on, and I lied. Like I told them I was getting the later train, and I got the earlier train, by myself, and just literally went over and they were like, I'm like, oh, I just ended up getting the earlier train. Like I just wanted to work on my stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then they were like, oh, do you want to meet up for dinner? And I was like, oh, maybe. And I just sat outside Starbar being like, and then this and blah, what about that? Just, my God.
Still to this
painful.
day, my wife knows that I am bad comp. Like she'll, if when I do a festival show and people coming, they go, well, should we go to dinner beforehand or whatever?
Nope.
She'll just say, look, and she knows I'm not good company before a gig. And I remember I did my festival show a few years ago, and a bunch of parents from the kids' school came. Lovely people, and so everyone, we're going out to dinner afterwards, and I get down to the restaurant just down the road afterwards, and they're already seated and stuff. And God bless my wife, she looks at me and she just goes, I've sat you down next to Loz, who's my sister-in-law, and Neen, who's my cousin's wife, who I know both of them really well. She goes, I figured you wouldn't really want to talk too much to anyone. And I was like, thank you so much. Not because you don't want to, but I think what a lot of people don't realize is when you've done that, I just talked for an hour at all these people. And dominated the conversation. At that point, you're sort of mentally at the point where you're just like, I'm happy just to sit and listen. And so I just sat down the end and listened to all the conversations going on and was cordial and that sort of stuff. But you're too mentally drained to get really into good conversations. And there's nothing, I feel like, for people who've come and seen you and then hang out with you afterwards, there's nothing more disappointing than the parallel from, oh, this guy on stage can be really funny, and then in person you're like, oh wow, he's just kind of boring. He stares into space a lot.
Why is it? Yeah, he's taking like a really long time picking what he wants to eat as well, which is really annoying because you're literally reading a menu but going like, that joke I told really didn't fucking land, did it? That's so annoying. But you're reading the menu the whole time. Oh, get out of here. Anyway, but no, it's the same thing. Like, do the festival shows, and like if your festival show is at Enmore, then it's like there's 1,000 restaurants in Newtown and Enmore, and like my wife's family's always like, let's catch up, let's get dinner, and I love them. I love getting dinner with them, but as soon as I finish a show, I'm going like, here's where it can work better. This needs to go earlier. That needs to go later, all that sort of stuff. And then you go to dinner and they're like, that was such a great show. Like just asking you, how did you think it went? And like, you don't want to bore them, but like, you're like, oh, there's stuff to work on. And then you do see that contrast of like being the guy on stage of to just nothing, of you being like, I'm happy with it.
People see that as sometimes they think it's a false modesty, or you're trying to, I don't know, I always self-conscious of they think you're fishing for compliments or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just, I just generally mentally pretty wiped after a show, and I just
Oh yeah.
don't want to. It's not that I don't want to talk to people. I'm just not capable of being great company.
No, that's it. It's what can you do? Like
Yeah.
I mean, you've literally just outlaid an hour of talking about the things that you've wanted to talk about, and now, like you're saying, people from your kids' school that are like, oh, so when's the next P&C meeting? And you're like, oh, I couldn't fucking care less when the next P&C meeting is. I'm thinking about this thing in my head, but yeah, it's a killer.
To be honest, I'm not even thinking half the time. Like, I'm just
Zoned,
staring into
just done.
space.
Yeah.
So,
Who do you think, out of, like, you've obviously met a lot of people because you've done a few different shows across a few different sports. Who do you think, like, if you were a comedy agent, who's the person that you're going to being like, mate, you should give it a crack. You've got the skills.
Oh, that's a really good question. I don't know, because there's blokes that are very naturally funny and can tell a story, but as we'll know, that doesn't necessarily
translate
into a stand-up frame of mind. Like Brian Fletcher is one of the naturally funniest blokes around.
Yeah.
And he'd be a very good stand-up, but whether he'd want to have to go through that,
the structure of putting it all together sort of thing, as opposed to,
like, he could, and he probably would, but yeah, it's that, like, I think that anyone who wants to be a stand-up sort of gets compelled to do it will end up just doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to picture. It's not something, if you don't want to do it, that you'd ever put yourself through, because it's just it's uncomfortable at times.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
especially
absolutely.
starting out. It's that feeling of knowing you're going to do something that has a pretty good chance of failing, and you're going to come away feeling worse than you did going there. But the downside is that the trade-off is the when it does come off, when it does work, you feel invincible, and it's that feeling of, wow, that really worked, and that feeling is so good that you're willing to go, okay, well, even if it doesn't work out the next time, it's worth it if I can get it to work again. So
that's kind of, I had that vibe of when I did those couple of gigs in Newcastle, where I threw out some newer material that I hadn't done yet, but I had been sitting on it for pretty much all of the quarantine lockdown stuff. So I really kind of tuned it, worked it. So to actually do it, I was like, oh shit, okay, like that feels good. And then I start doing the immediate thing of like, yeah, but it might not work next time. And it's like, and where's the problem? How do we fix it? And it's like, it's fine, just leave it. If it fucking sucks next time, then stress.
That's you'll find out. Like some some audiences just are. You find all of a sudden they're just on your wavelength, and so you throw out new stuff and it just sort of clicks.
Yeah.
But then you forget that there was work to get them to that point, and then if you just try it off the bat at the next place and you haven't got the audience to that point, then it's not going to be the same reaction. And it's just learning, how every joke you got works.
Yeah.
So, and the only way to do that, unfortunately, is to just get up and do them. And sometimes they'll work, sometimes they won't. And sometimes it's just, you emphasize the wrong word, or you set it up wrong.
Yeah.
You didn't even realize at the time. And then you listen back to your set and you go, oh, that's why it didn't work. I missed a whole chunk of information, and they didn't really know where I was going.
That was pretty pivotal. I've really leaned on this bit that was more of a throwaway, and I've forgotten the entire meat of my sandwich. Like,
yeah, I did a gig, just actually, it was like I was in Canberra back in March, I think, early March, like before lockdown and before everything kicked off. And it was one of those gigs, and I had this idea, and I was just, everything was going well. I threw it out, and it just sort of, the joke just came. I knew all the pieces, but I hadn't sat and actually written it as how I'd word it and whatever. But it just came out. One of those nights where my brain was working well enough, communicating with my mouth to say it in these, get the words out in this order, dickhead. And it worked perfectly. And then, so I thought, oh, well, that's great. I've written a whole new bit. And then the next time I went to do it, I was so concentrating on trying to do it the exact way I did the time before. I just completely stuffed it. And that's that thing of when I was just in the moment of thinking, okay, there's this funny idea I want to communicate. Let your brain and your mouth just do it, as opposed to trying to retell a story I'd already told, if you know what I mean. Which then just had no blood, you know.
See, I had on like a couple of days before that first Newcastle gig, I had like this weird thing where I went to see a doctor. And when he found out that I was a comedian, he was like, "Oh, have you ever seen Def Jam comedy?" And then just started showing me Def Jam comedy YouTube clips, like my doctor just literally showing them to me. And I wrote that in my phone as like, literally, hey, remember to go back into this at some point. Like, that's a funny premise. And then I was like, and this is what a punchline could be. And when I got up in Newcastle, I was like, I'm just going to start talking about it and just see what happens. Like, I was emceeing. So I was like,
so you got
this is a bit more time, a bit looser. Yeah. So I was like, let's just see what happens. And it got a really good reaction. And the punchline got a really good reaction. And then I asked the room runner, I was like, hey, did you film that? And he was like, yeah, I did. I was like, sick. I just want to watch it again for night 2. And then night 2, it was like, it was obviously a dude trying to remember a video that he'd watched of himself going, yeah. And then my doctor, he's and just really, I just didn't have any flow, like, as opposed to the first night where I was just letting it happen.
You're using a different part of your brain. You're using the memory instead of the problem solving part of your brain.
The feeling.
I don't know. Not that I know anything about parts of brains, but you know what I mean. It feels like it's a different thought process into remembering how did I word this, as to just trying to get a funny idea out there. So it's all. I can't believe you told your doctor you were a comedian though. Do you put that? What? Because I'm super like awkward whenever I've got something I've got to write occupation on. I'm like, because this is it now. This is full time. This is all I do is comedy, essentially. Like, whether it's TV, stand up, whatever. It's my job is comedy, but it seems like the most ridiculous thing to write on a form.
It's very obnoxious. Like
I try, sometimes I just write entertainer, but I feel like that's even a bit wankier in some ways. Like it makes it sound like, oh, you're song and dance man, are you? I'm like, no, I have none of those skills.
That's the magic cabaret coming out again.
Exactly.
Now, I kind of remember how it sort of came up. I think it was like, it wasn't like he got me to fill out a form and I was like, comedian. It's not like I'm coming into the country being like comedian.
Have you had to? What do you put though on those forms?
On coming into the country?
Yeah, or on any of those official forms. Because I've had to. I don't know. I've done. I don't know if you've done like gigs overseas, or like I've done, like I was doing cruise ships for a while, which good fun. And so you're literally going to traveling for your job.
Yeah.
But it's
still not writing comedian.
Dick of a thing to write. And so I just write entertainer, and every time, oh, what do you do? It's like, mate, I'm going to tell dick jokes on a cruise ship. Can you let me in, please?
Please. And like busboy. Just write busboy or something, and then no one will ever talk to you. It's an odd, I still don't know what's right, because it doesn't feel like it's a real job. Like, no. It's a real job. It's
I can't remember if I've been overseas since because there was a while there where I was just doing it full time. Like everything I was earning was from comedy or acting. And then I got my day job to guarantee the rent when you've got a kid and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
but
all the grown-up stuff.
All the crap. But I don't think I've been overseas since I guess considered myself a comedian or whatever. But yeah, he was more asking me for the sense of like, do you need a doctor's certificate? Like, what do you do? And my brain automatically went like, I'm a comedian. And then I was like, but no, I don't need I do need a doctor's certificate actually for the day job, but not for comedian.
Imagine though, if you're if like room runners, like if you had to cancel, started asking for doctor's certificates.
So good.
If I ever run a room, that's exactly what I'll be
doing. It.
All right, a doctor's certificate, and
that's it.
I suppose, yeah.
If not, you're getting the 3-month comedy court style 3-month ban. Yeah, you're on the blacklist.
Are you banned from there for life? Apparently.
What did you do? Did you just bail on one gig or something?
I don't know what I did. Apparently, I think I'm too good for that place now, which I'm not. Wow. I'm not too good for anywhere, but I found out through another couple of blokes that told me, do you know you're blacklisted? I just
is there actually a list? Imagine if there's an actual list, like that's it's literally.
I think it's all in the room,
in the brain,
keeps it mentally.
Crazy.
Which is funny because that's where I learned a lot about emceeing. That's where I did a lot of emceeing early on because one, you could early on there, and two, you were so off the radar of the comedy scene that you could take real risks and learn a lot and fail without in a low risk environment. So and the audiences that had come in there were always just middle of the road sensibilities. They weren't there for anything in particular. They were there to see some comedy.
Yeah.
No, and not leaning one way or another. It wasn't a trendy place. It was just these guys got flyered. A lot of travelers or whatever, and they weren't coming back. They were never coming back. They weren't going to remember your name. So you could, okay, I think this will be funny. I'm just going to take a swing.
Yeah.
And
live in the moment.
It was fine. And so I learned a lot there, but, and so I kind of a little sad that I got blacklisted. Not that I'm looking to gig there at the moment, but it's a funny sort of a feeling.
Well, if you do need, I'm sure you can get off the blacklist if you provide like a doctor's note, like a sick note or something. You might be able to get
bring
off.
4 friends.
Bring 4 friends. Yeah, actually, I remember one of the times I did it there. I tried to literally just had Lou with me, like my wife, and was like, "Can she come with me?" No, and it's like, okay. And I said to Lou, I was like, we're going to go to dinner after this. Like, do you actually want to watch this show? And she's like, I kind of want to watch you. And I was like, okay. And then it's like, go to get a ticket. And it's like, there's only the VIP seats left. And it's like $30. And you're like, fuck. Like,
he's good. He's good.
He's good. I'll give him that.
That's how I found out I was blacklisted. So I turned up I'd done when Comedy Lounge was doing the early Saturday shows.
Yeah,
that brief period, and so
like 5 p.m. sort of thing. Yeah,
5:30, 6 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
So I'd done that, and I'd finished up, and I was going over to meet Andrew Paskin, another comedian who was there running some material, and we were just going to go grab a coffee after that, so I just
don't even show your face around here. Don't get out of here.
So I wasn't finished yet, and so I texted Paskin, "Is this show still on?" He comes out, he goes, "I'll talk to Dante. He'll let you in," because I had emceed there 1,000,000 times, and wouldn't let me in at all. No dice, and and then I was like, "Oh, that's odd." And the show was. He wanted me to buy a ticket if I wanted to go in, and the show was almost done anyway. It was 2/3 done, and I was like,
just wait.
Sit over at the bar and have a beer.
Yeah.
And, which I went and did. And ended up catching it. And then, so that's how I found out I was blacklisted.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's something, I mean, at least you can go and drown your sorrows, maybe have, 1/8 of a beer and get over it and never think about it ever again. But that's about it.
It is sad in a way, but I don't think I'll lose any sleep over it.
Nah. I'll let you go shortly, mainly because I'm getting the wrap up messages myself about a troublesome baby at my house. But
good times.
So that's good to know.
Hopefully it's your baby, not.
I don't even know. I assume it's ours, unless it's.
It's the neighbour's kid, man. She crawls over every night and just causes trouble.
They've gone to the RSL. I said I'd look after it. Could you deal with our one? I'll look after this one. We touched on it earlier really quickly, was that you emceed our wedding.
Yes.
And I believe we may have started like a new love for you in terms of weddings and how weddings should be.
Because your wedding, now I should warn you too, I've noted a pattern. I've emceed quite a few weddings now.
All right. Brag, but okay.
Families, that sort of stuff. Yeah. I am what people like to call a
sought after.
A guest you give a job to. And that was but what I've noticed is I reckon I'm running at about 50% in terms of successful marriages.
Really?
There's a real pattern. Yeah, there's a real pattern. Particularly in one group of, I won't go into it because it's real people.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, there was one that barely lasted the honeymoon, from what I understand. And so my wife is really worried about me emceeing any more weddings because she thinks it's something to do with me.
Especially anyone close to you that you're supposed to like care about, like it's her brothers and sisters or something. It's like, no, Andrew's not doing it.
Near any of her friends' weddings, no way, I wouldn't be allowed. So
good.
But your wedding stands out because everyone knows ceremony, whether that be church, park, wherever. Yours was at a church, and then there's the gap. There's the gap between ceremony and reception, which is it's
a bit of free time.
Lots of different options. Yeah, a bit of free time. The couple are off with the groom's people getting their and the bridesmaids getting their photos and stuff. But you had an amazing initiative. So straight out of the church into the hall next to the church, boom, put on a spread. And my favorite, what would you call it? Appetizer, or it's not really an appetizer as such, a nibble. Was there the cob loaf dip? Warm cob loaf dip. It was exactly like, because I don't know about you, but when I see two people in love, it makes me hungry, and I'm looking for like some crusty bread to dip in, like something that's creamy. You're not 100% sure of what it is, but it's like there's definitely sour cream in it. That could be chopped up spinach. Who knows? Maybe it's probably good for me. I'm going to eat shitloads of it. And that was how I spent your the gap between there. I was with me and Alex J. Who is another
brilliant comedian.
Her and I were both there, and we
smashed it.
I
like to think of how people perceive a cob loaf is also how people perceive myself and Lou as a joint. Like, you look at a cob loaf and you're like, I'm not necessarily sure those two things. I like those two things, but I'm not sure they go together. And then
one's crusty
they're together,
sort of dry, the other's sort of warm and liquidy. And
and I mean,
just
which one's which in the analogy, I don't know, but I'll leave that up to people's perception.
Right. Put it out as a poll on Instagram stories.
Am I the crusty one? Am I the crusty one, or am I the wet, warm one?
Which one am I?
Because that's the best bit too, is when you get down to the bottom and you're just starting to use just what was the shell.
Yeah,
you're
crack
just
it
breaking
off.
bits off and dipping in, and those bits at the bottom that had just been sort of
Sitting
soaked,
there. Yeah,
sitting
stewing.
in there. So good. Now, what there's a bunch of different dips. What's your preference? What do you like? What do you like? Are you a spinach and ricotta guy?
See,
you a
I
French
wasn't.
onion ricotta guy?
I was definitely, I would have said I was a French. I feel like it was spinach and ricotta, right? At the wedding, I think it was.
I think
I wasn't a
had to turn in my teeth
huge
for most of the reception.
you were MC, like I didn't want to bring it up. You were focusing on MCing and stuff, but yeah, it was very visible.
Oh, don't worry. The cob loaf got a shout out too, didn't it?
It did well, and I think it gets a shout out every time we talk, or even if I talk about you to my wife, it'll be like, man, Barno loved that.
God, he loves a cob loaf.
Yeah. He did, didn't he?
Mate.
Yeah. It's not a bad reputation to have. Like, there's much worse reputations. Like, if I said, "Oh, I'm doing a thing with Barno tonight," and she was like, "Oh, he's a fucking loser." Instead, it's like, he loves a cob loaf.
I should have made a cob loaf. I should have just had it.
We should have done it. Done like you had. I'll bring all the broken up bread, and then I could like CGI drop it into your.
Mate, when this COVID bullshit's over and we can do a face-to-face one of these, let's do an episode over cob loaf.
Over a cob? Oh, delicious. That's so good.
See, that's your next podcast. That's your next podcast once this is over. Cobs with Mitch. You just get people on.
Called like pod loaf or so. I don't know. That's pod so loaf. Bad.
Ooh,
pod loaf. Oh, actually, I don't mind that, to be honest. Pod loaf.
So you sit down and each week, Mitch Garling breaks bread with an interesting person
with a new person.
Life. Boom.
Yeah. Boom. Mate, done. This writes itself.
This pitch writes itself. It's amazing.
I think I think if you're picking a favorite, Lou's mum makes like it's sort of a French oniony one, but it's got some corn. It's got a bit of, I think maybe with bacon, corn, French, but life changing. But mate, I think in summary, like I'll let you go shortly, but in summary, I think that I think you've done really well in this interview to be the possible, heir to the throne of being my dad. I think you've always, but even before this interview, I think you've always you've always looked out for me. You've always sort of championed me and pushed me in certain ways. Like, you hooked me up with Fox Sports and stuff and whatever, that didn't work out, but you've always looked out for me in that sense. And I just wanted to say thanks, Dad. You're a bloody good dad.
No worries at all. I don't know. I think I don't know. Like, and you're very much the same. Like, in terms of if you can tip a comedian into something, do you think they'd be good at? Or like there's nothing I enjoy more than being able to introduce funny people to funny people and
situations.
If you've got if you're doing a room and you work with someone new you haven't worked with, and then you do another room and you're talking to the room runner, I'll always like, have you had this person on? Like, because you're trying to. It's just, I don't know. I love that, and I think that most comics are very much like that, very supportive. Like, for all the, it's a solo sort of a gig for the most part, but I think in general most comics are pretty supportive and
that's
help each other out. So.
Always looking out for each other. That's it.
Good,
I'll leave you. Sorry, mate. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, especially at the moment with all the crap that's going on. So
that's it. We've all got to be helping each other and doing each other's podcasts and
exactly,
sharing each other's videos and all that sort of stuff, so that we all have, a content life, all that sort of jazz. But and look, doing our best to support the struggling little company that is Zoom. A lot of people don't know about it. It's not going good. Old Zoom. I feel bad for her.
Zoom meeting is going to be one of those. Is the word of 2020, I would imagine.
Oh, absolutely. It'll be absolutely. It'll be. I feel like I've been trying to figure out like how we're going to think about 2020, like in 20 years, if that sort of makes sense. And the only sort of analogy, like not analogy, but the only sort of comparison I can think about is like kind of like the loo roll, the bog roll, you know, wars will be kind of how we think about and look back at like that. Was it the Great Emu War? The Great Emu War, like how we look back at that and we're like, geez, that was a sad time in our lives,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
What a weird thing to have happened.
I know. It's like, yeah, and like we'll be telling grandkids being like, yeah, there was no toilet paper anywhere. You used to literally fight people for toilet paper.
That's what I think. Like at least, you know, people talk about, look, we're not sacrificing anything like the during the World Wars, and that's 100% true.
Absolutely.
But at least they had fucking good stories. Like
yeah.
Mate, I watched Tiger King, and we ran out of toilet paper, so I had to use tissues. Like fucking
pretty sad. It's
not,
touch and
not
go
the kind of thing. My grandkids are going to be sitting around. Oh, tell us another story about that.
No, that's it. You're not gonna get that tattooed. Like that's not going to be a story that your grandkids are going to get tattooed, being like, "This is my grandpa's story" or whatever. Like,
well, that's it. Like people talk about. They're going to be like, "Oh, we talk about my grandfather. He fought in New Guinea, and our grandkids are going to be like, my daddy. He fought in aisle 14 of Woolworths. Over the last packet of bog roll. It was
not even that. It was my dad. He fought. Well, he was supposed to go on a cruise to do comedy to New Guinea, but they got cancelled. So he just stayed at home for a while. We just played Fortnite and stuff together. But so good, mate. I'll wrap you up. Just a quick one.
Worries.
If you were, this is a new sort of thing that I'm trying with my prospective dads. If you were my dad right now, like if you, Andrew Barnett, Barney, Barno, whatever, if you were my dad right now, what's the advice that you would give me in 2020 on how to be the best Mitch Garling that I can be?
In 2020, the best thing
or just moving forward, I guess,
is don't measure anything on this year. This is such a weird year. Like you can't, there's people there's lots of people like out of work or whatever, and you're just like, well, okay, this isn't the best advice I can say, I think, and it's hard to try and do, and it's what I try and remember, is the whole thing, this whole COVID thing, this whole fucker of a year that we're having. The best advice I ever got was, it's not happening to you, it's just happening.
Yeah.
So don't take any of it personally. It's happening to everyone, and just head down, do the work, and see where it goes. You never know where things are going to go. 12 months ago, we wouldn't have predicted that we'd be all doing Zoom podcasts. So just as long as you keep doing the work, keep creating, and keep doing your best and doing what makes you happy, then
what can you do?
It'll work out in the long run.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fatherly advice. I appreciate that from my 7-year-old father.
Mate, I learned a lot in those 7 years. Don't worry about it.
Oh, all right, fair enough. Keep that to you. Are my dad at the end of the day. Keep that sort of stuff to yourself. Mate, please, before we wrap up, just plug anything that you've got. Like, as you say, you've got the vodcast on Kayo, and then obviously doing the features on Matty Johns on the Sunday night.
Sunday nights with Matty Johns. The Professor and Barney Podcast featuring Tom and Nick. But if you just search Professor and Barney Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And other than that, I'll look out for me at Mr. A Barnett on Instagram and Twitter, but I don't really do any tweeting. And just
everywhere.
Yeah, if you're at an open mic night and you see a guy struggling to remember his new material, just remember, that guy worked hard for a lot of years, and now he's forgotten how to do it. So
that's it. He doesn't remember sentence structure, but he's gonna get there, mates. Thank you, Andrew Barnett, Barney, Barno. Thanks for chatting with me, my friend.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, mate.